In this video, we're going to be looking through the Lost Video Games iceberg. This is a neat and interesting iceberg, and yeah, hope you guys enjoy the video. So let's get started. McDonald's DS games. This entry is definitely referring to the McDonald's eCrew development program, which was a Nintendo DS game created and used by McDonald's Japan to help train new employees. This game was made all the way back in 2010, only given to McDonald's Japan employees, and required an individualized password to play. I know this is the Lost Games iceberg, but there seems to be a couple entries which are games that were once lost that have now been found again, and this entry is one of them. The game had been lost and unplayable for over 10 years, with the only footage we had of the game being some media coverage of it when it was first released and used in Japan. We as well also had high quality footage of the intro, title screen, and menu, which came from a user who went by Code1038. Now, this Code1038 user actually owned the game cartridge, buying it years earlier. He started a thread on the Assembler Games website in 2018 discussing how he was stuck on the password entry page this game interestingly had and could not progress past that point. Many people begged Code to dump and upload the game online for everyone to play, but he refused because he was a bit scared of legal problems, I don't know. Midway through 2020, a Yahoo Japan auction for the game appeared online, with it being priced for 400,000 yen, which is in US dollars, almost $4,000, I believe. The game had been eventually purchased, and a few months went by and there was no news or anything regarding the McDonald's game. However, on November 18th, 2020, the YouTuber Nick Robinson had created this really cool video documentary where it was revealed that he won the Yahoo auction for the game. And after playing through the game on a live stream, he went on to dump the entire game onto the Internet Archive, making the game now found and playable for all. Yeah Yeah Beavis 1. If you're familiar with Lost Media, there's definitely a good chance you've heard about Yeah Yeah Beavis. So this was a potentially non-existent video game which had been first seen in a June 1989 listing for mail order video game service Play It Again, being then found again in the following advertisements from Play It Again in July, August, and September. Months later in October, a pretty much identical advertisement had been placed by another mail order video game service, Funko, which as well also had a listing for the game. However, instead of it being Yeah Yeah Beavis 1, it was just Yeah Beavis 1. Many people to this day still wonder what this mysterious game actually is. There was no game that was called or known as Yeah Yeah Beavis. Some theories included that the game was a mistranslation of a cancelled game which just never came out. Maybe an early title for a Japanese game known as Rai Rai Kyonchi that was never localized in the US. It was possibly a copyright trap with a non-existent game serving as evidence if another game service copied the list. And possibly that the game as well as the name was an inside joke between the companies. Lost 3D Groove Games. So, 3D Groove was a 3D game engine that had run from 1998 all the way to 2009. This game engine was created by the company Groove Alliance, and while they did develop their own original games on the site, they mainly focused on creating games to advertise different shows, toys, movies, and cartoons. When the site went down in 2009, a good handful of these games on the site had become lost and unplayable. Several games are still available due to archive.org and people uploading lost 3D Groove games they found on their old computers. Burger King CDI. This was a series of CDI full motion video training games to help train employees at the fast food restaurant. These were tested and used at many different Burger King locations across the United States in the mid-1990s. These training games were played through the Philips CDI, which was a home entertainment system released all the way back in 1990. The Philips CDI was a huge flop, selling less than 1 million copies since its release. On January 3rd, 2021, a YouTuber that goes by FrameRaider uploaded a video which was titled "Don't Risk Buying a Philips CDI," reviewing and criticizing the system. A comment was left on the video by a user named Michelle L, who recommended that FrameRaider should review the Burger King game for the CDI. They recalled seeing this in the early 2000s. This was an interesting comment, as at the time, upon searching up Burger King CDI, nothing would actually show up referring to this game. FrameRaider sent the comment to L Supersonic Q, and they both thought of this comment to be a troll, as there was no supporting evidence to back up this comment. However, upon further inspection, L Supersonic Q managed to somehow dig up two articles from 1996 and 1997 discussing the Burger King training games. On November 27th, 2021, a dump of the Burger King training game was obtained from the Home Computer Museum in Helmond, Netherlands, by a user who goes by Kylo Kyra. The dump was added to Redump, which is a disk preservation project. The files that are added to Redump are not playable. However, a couple days later, a fully playable version of the program was uploaded onto the Internet Archive, making this training game found again. Mean Girls DS. This was a Nintendo DS game based on the 2014 comedy film of the same name. It was published by 505 Games and was set to be released in Europe on September 2009. A United States release was scheduled for April 2010. However, both would end up being cancelled at the last minute. Screenshots of the game as well as listings for pre-orders on different websites had surfaced online, which led many to believe that copies of the game must exist somewhere. However, despite the searches, no ROM files or even physical game cartridges seem to exist. On May 26, 2021, a YouTuber that goes by Bob Dunga revealed on Twitter that she had got her hands on the ROM of the game and revealed a forthcoming documentary video, which would explain how she acquired it. June 14th, Bob Dunga uploaded this documentary video to her channel, revealing that she did in fact come into possession of the Mean Girls ROM, sharing gameplay and screenshots. She acquired the game after she was contacting employees of the studio who had worked on the Mean Girls DS game, with an anonymous source giving Bob Dunga access to the ROM. This ROM though wasn't allowed to be shared, not only for legal reasons, but the ROM that was given to her was bugged to the point where it wouldn't work past the first minigame. A month later, on July 14th, a full debugged playthrough of the Mean Girls DS ROM was uploaded onto her channel, in the description noting a list of bugs and glitches she encountered during the debugging process. Family Guy Online. I'm sure a lot of you remember this game and might have played it when it was actually available. Family Guy Online was an MMORPG based on the Fox animated sitcom Family Guy. This game ran for only a year, which was from 2012 to 2013. They shut the game down as they weren't really making much money or profit from the game, and when the game shut down, the game had become lost and unplayable. There's still heaps of gameplay footage online existing, which is very good, and a Lost Media Wiki user actually uploaded a few cached assets from the game, which were dated to be from August 2012. However, the game is still unplayable, and the game is only partially found. SpongeBob Town, also known as SpongeBob SquarePants Online, was an online multiplayer game that had been developed by Blue Arc Global and published by Giga Media Limited in association with Nickelodeon. The game was developed throughout 2011 and 2012, with one quick open technical test happening between October 25th to 27th, 2012. So the game was set to release sometime in 2013, however was just abruptly cancelled without any explanation whatsoever. No statements were made by Blue Arc, Giga Media or Nickelodeon on why the game was cancelled, and it's pretty weird because the game was hella far into development. The game hasn't seen the light of day since the technical test they had back in 2012, and it's unfortunate. This game looked very cool. Its gameplay was similar to other fun MMOGs at the time, such as Club Penguin and Toontown. Roblox Beta. I'm sure you're all aware of what Roblox is nowadays. Roblox is a massive online multiplayer game where users can play many different games made by the community, as well as design and make your own games. It's definitely one of the biggest and most popular games in the world right now. Roblox had started development in 2003 by David Baszucki and Eric Castle. The game was originally titled GoBlox, then was changed to Dynablox, and then finally changed to the famous final name we all know as Roblox. Any builds of the game dating back to 2005 and 2006 have straight up vanished. These builds were most likely removed when Roblox moved servers a while back, deleting old content. At the moment, all we have are pre-2010 builds of Roblox, with the earliest build dating back to 2007. In 2017, a user who went by WePlay123 had gone to discover a Google patent abstract titled Online Building Toy that was released during 2005 by David Baszucki and Eric Castle. The patent contained information which detailed the thought process behind the creation of Roblox, and as well included some screenshots that were taken from the game itself. Halo DS. Yes, a Halo game for the Nintendo DS. This game had been first mentioned January 4th, 2007 when Matt Casamassina from IGN created a blog post in which he had claimed to have played Halo DS, with as well interestingly also saying that the game was completely up and running and fully playable. Later on that same year, July 18th, an interview with Siliconera Bungie employees Frank O'Connor and Brian Jarrett stated that there has never been an officially funded or sanctioned development of any sort of DS Halo game. Matt was instead most likely referring to a prototype that was pitched to Nintendo, not a Halo game that was on the DS. This statement that was made in the interview would go on to cause many people to accuse Matt as well as IGN of lying about the existence of this Halo DS game. Matt created a follow-up blog post after getting accused of lying, stating that the Halo DS game was indeed real and that it was created by a real development studio with a very big publisher. Not only that, but Matt would go on to release screenshots and gameplay videos for the public to see, proving that this was definitely a real game. Minecraft Lost Versions. There are heaps of early builds and versions from the early development cycles of Minecraft that are now missing entirely and completely lost. There are 7 phases of Minecraft's development: Pre-Classic, Classic, In-Dev, Inf-Dev, Alpha, Beta, and Release. The majority of the last 3 phases are mostly available in the launcher, with only just 1 or 2 missing versions. However, the rest beforehand are a completely different story. For a good variety of different reasons, most versions from these phases of Minecraft's development are lost and are unavailable to play, with only videos or screenshots of their existence available. Doctor Who: Worlds in Time. This was an MMORPG based on the BBC science fiction TV series Doctor Who, which had run from 2012 to 2014. In this online game, you could create your own character and help the Doctor with missions, which were mostly single player with a few exceptions. When you weren't in a mission, you would probably be in the hub area, which represented one of the planets from the show. In this hub area, you could hang out and chat with other players. Clothing from the show had been frequently added and would be bought using coins, which were an in-game earned currency. You could also buy stuff using Chronons, which were a currency bought with real money and cash. So pretty much, this game was browser-based on a website called DoctorWhoWit.com, which has since been bought by a shady company and is now a Robux scam site. You can access the actual website through the Wayback Machine. However, you cannot play the game which was once there. The game is completely lost and is now currently unplayable. Definitely gonna butcher this name, but Gakyu Shon Saihanri. So this was an Ace Attorney fan game that had been released in 2003, and pretty much this was a furry version of Ace Attorney, with characters such as Phoenix Wright, Miles Edgeworth, and the Judge being replaced and resembling furry characters. The game was lost and unplayable for a whole 18 years, until October last year. Lost Media Wiki user Scar had actually managed to find the game and acquired it from a Japanese furry, who happened to have the game sitting on an old computer. The game would be later posted onto the Internet Archive after its discovery, and yeah, not really a lost game anymore, but still pretty cool. Nickelodeon Game Builder. There existed a Nick.com flash game which was known as Nickelodeon Game Builder, and this flash game had run from 2009 all the way to August 2013. In Nickelodeon Game Builder, users could create and design their own levels using different assets based on Nickelodeon properties. Many different variants of this creator were released, which had been based on SpongeBob SquarePants, The Penguins of Madagascar, iCarly, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and Fanboy and Chum Chum. Several years later, the games had been removed from the site, making them of course unplayable. Avatar: Legends of the Arena. So pretty much this was a multiplayer game that released September 15th, 2008, and was based on the Nickelodeon series Avatar: The Last Airbender. This was actually a really cool fighting game, where you would face off and battle against 3 other people. Rounds would end when only one person was left standing, or when 5 minutes had gone by. When players would win matches, they would be rewarded with gold, which could be then spent on upgrades and equipment. Really cool and interesting game indeed. In 2013, the game servers would be shut down, leaving the game lost and unplayable. However, in March 2020, the game's database was amazingly completely rebuilt from scratch, and the game was once again accessible. However, this rebuilt version only contained single-player training only. It was said multiplayer was being worked on, but I'm unaware if this actually went through and was completed. Teletoons Total Drama Avatar Creator. Around 2007, I believe, when Total Drama Island Tour was being premiered, to promote the series, Teletoon released Total Drama Online Avatar Builder for user profiles on the now dead Total Drama website. It was pretty cool stuff. Users could create their own Total Drama styled character, save it, and be able to use that created character as their user avatar on the website. Nowadays, trying to access the website, it will just redirect you to the Teletoons website. Many have tried to use the Wayback Machine and attempt to retrieve the game, but they have all failed. The website was for Canadian users only, and there was a login block screen to make sure you are actually Canadian. Even using a VPN in the Wayback Machine, it has proved to do nothing as the existing snapshots have only gone so far on the website. The only piece of video footage we actually have of the game was retrieved from one of the application's developers, Nicktropolis. Nicktropolis was an MMORPG made for Nickelodeon's website on January 30th, 2007. In this game you would play and chat with other users, create and customize your own character, and explore many different Nickelodeon themed lands where you would do different mini-games and such. Pretty cool stuff. In 2010, Nicktropolis would end up getting a whole rebrand and turn into The Club with a few different assets used. Then in 2013, the club would end up being closed and shut down, leaving the game lost to this very day. A few assets from the game have resurfaced since its shutdown, and a user who goes by Nikki House had created a sort of recreation of the game using Scratch with the resurfaced assets. Although this is pretty cool, it's not really close to what the original Nicktropolis was. City 2000 Paris. There's a game that exists known as City 2000. This was a point-and-click adventure puzzle game which was released in 1993 by Aditus and developed by Roller Game Limited. Now, this game City 2000 isn't very rare. Yeah, it's a pretty obscure game. There isn't much info online regarding it, but it is ripped with its digital copy circulating online. However, there was a sequel for the game made the next year titled City 2000 Paris, which just never made its way onto the internet. There is no copies of the game available for purchase online, and not a single website has actually documented this sequel. The only proof of this game's existence is through it being mentioned in the CD-ROM's in-print catalogue, published by Gale Group, as the 1996 to 2003 issues have all indicated that Aditus published the game in March 1994. Incredibly little information can be found about the two companies, leaving pretty much virtually no leads for tracking the game down. I honestly don't think this game was ever released or even finished. But yeah, City 2000 Paris, yeah, a mysterious game, and who knows what happened to it. Spore 2D. This was a flash game based off the 2008 simulation game known as Spore, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. This flash game's sole purpose was to promote the Wii release of the game Spore Hero. The game had become lost and unplayable sometime in 2012, and all we have of the game is a few gameplay videos on YouTube as well as the SWF file, which can be discovered on the Internet Archive. This SWF file though is pretty useless as it's missing a critical XML file, keeping it stuck on the loading screen. Lost Nintendo DS tech demos. There are a number of many Nintendo DS tech demos from E3 2004 which are currently lost. One of the tech demos Nintendo had demonstrated includes a demo starring Pikachu. This Pikachu demo was made to demonstrate the console's 3D capabilities, microphone, and its famous touchscreen by engaging in different activities with a 3D model of Pikachu. The demo hasn't resurfaced outside of the demonstrations at E3 and no ROM is known to exist. Although the 3D model of Pikachu as well as the pulling functions have been reused for the game Pokemon Dash, that was released in Japan later that year. One other tech demo from the same E3, which is now lost, includes this demo of Mario and Wario. In this tech demo, the users would use the stylus on the touchscreen, grabbing parts of Mario and Wario's faces, and pulling and stretching them. Very similar to the Super Mario 64 title screen. These tech demos may never resurface and see the light of day again. Big Bible Town. This was an online multiplayer game created by Third Day Games and released November 15th, 2010. In this game, it would teach biblical values and lessons while set in the 1st century. In the game, users would create their own account and build their own church-centric town by collecting tokens. According to their Twitter, Big Bible Town was supposedly meant to release on iOS. However, there is no existing evidence that this actually went through and happened. The game had shut down and would become unplayable and lost. Although the game is lost, there is still some good footage of gameplay which can be seen on the official Big Bible Town YouTube channel. Creep: The Last Tube. This is another game on the iceberg which has been found and is no longer lost. Still gonna speak on it cause it's still pretty interesting stuff, you know. This game was a 3D shockwave horror game created by a company known as Jaildog. The game had been available to play online from 2005 to 2007 and was based on a 2004 horror film called Creep. In 2019, a thread was made on the Lost Media Wiki talking about the availability of the game. This thread went unnoticed and quiet for around 2 years until a user who goes by the Cracks Overhead took notice of the game while searching for another different Shockwave 3D based game. After inspecting the Shockwave movie and director, he went on to find the game was developed by Jaildog and contacted the 3 key people who worked for the company. These people were Anthony Rushton, Bo Cheslock, and Russell Irwin. Anthony was contacted first. However, he was unable to help due to him not having the game files. Bo was then contacted and managed to find the game files after a bit of digging and send them over to the Cracks Overhead, who then uploaded it onto the internet for everyone to play, making this lost game found and available again. Also, the third guy Russell, who was as well contacted, managed to find a trailer to the game that was lost to the public. Pretty cool stuff. Tales Cosmic Rush 2.0. This was a fan-made Flash game that was developed by, I believe, a person that goes by the Blocks, and was released onto the Sage in 2011. The game was removed sometime during 2015 to 2017, and for the longest time, the game was considered lost. No one, including the creator themselves, had the game files. The only remaining footage we had of the game included one gameplay video on YouTube. However, February 16th this year, a user who goes by Red Broma had announced on Twitter that the game after all of these years had been rediscovered and archived. All thanks to a user who goes by Luma Emu, who had downloaded the game many years ago and still had it sitting on their old Windows Vista PC. Sega Channel Games. Sega Channel is a discontinued online game service from 1994, which was developed by Sega for the Sega Genesis. It seems that there is a bunch of lost and unconfirmed Sega Channel games. Lost Media Wiki user ExtremeRec2000 had made a post about these lost games after looking through the Sega Retro page they have for the Sega Channel, noticing some odd strange titles with no information online about them. If you want to have a view through all of these strange, supposedly lost games Extreme Rec 2000 had found, I'll put a link to this post in the description. Turkish Ben 10 games. So these are a group of video games that were developed by a company called Proje Kalide. The games were created to promote the animated series Ben 10, which was becoming a popular show in Turkey at the time, with these games believed to have released late 2000s and early 2010. These games are nowhere to be found online. Project Kalide had developed something known as the Ben 10 game set, which included 4 different games for PC, which were given away with the successful Turkish newspaper, Sabah. There really isn't much information about these games, except for the footage which can be seen in a commercial for them. Only 2 of the 4 games have resurfaced and are available to play. Another Ben 10 game that was developed goes by Ben 10, I'm not even going to try pronounce that, also known as Ben 10 Meteor Attack. This was a very unique and interesting PC game which required the user to play with the webcam. The player would hold a card to the camera to move Ben in the game. It was a very strange concept. These cards were given along with various Nesquik products, and yeah, I guess this game is now lost and unplayable. Project Kalide as well created 3 Ben 10 Alien Force games which were playable from a KFC promotion they had done. According to a commercial which mentions the games, after ordering the menus which are seen in the commercial, you would be given a code for one of the 3 Ben 10 Alien Force games. Apparently you would enter this code into a specific website, with this website nowadays being defunct and inaccessible. These lost KFC games are incredibly unknown and mysterious. There's no clue to what these games are actually called, and there's no gameplay footage to exist. One of Project Kalide's last games regarding Ben 10 was a game known as Ben 10, aka Ben 10 Big Clash Istanbul. This was a game for PC that was available on the Turkey Cartoon Network website. The game has since been taken down and is now unavailable. Pet Pet Park. Pet Pet Park was a virtual pet website, which had been launched October 2008 by Neopets and Nickelodeon Kids and Family Virtual Worlds group. The game would feature a virtual world focused on the Neopet companions, Pet Pets. Players had the ability to customize and feed their virtual pets, with there being 9 species of different pets to choose from. In 2014, Neopets had been bought by the educational franchise Jumpstart. The game would then later close and shut down on the 18th. The game hasn't resurfaced since its shutdown. LEGO Star Wars 3: The Clone Wars Beta. This was an MMO game released by LucasArts and launched in January 2011 to promote the upcoming game LEGO Star Wars 3: The Clone Wars. The game had been later shut down by Disney on April 3rd, 2013 after Disney went on to purchase LucasArts and shut down Lucasfilm Games. The game has since remained inaccessible and lost since its shutdown. Emerald Island. This was an environmentally themed MMO that was made by Fluid Entertainment Inc. This MMO was targeted towards mostly younger children and was very similar to your average MMO like Animal Jam or Club Penguin, as you could create your own character and explore an adventure through the Emerald Island. There is very little information known about the game's development, which is most likely due to the fact the game had only ran for around a year. The only thing that's pretty much known is that the game apparently had around $3.2 million in funding through Trinity Ventures, which, that's a lot. The reason as to why this game had shut down was because Fluid Entertainment was sold off to another different company. And with this happening, both the original websites for Emerald Island and Fluid Entertainment Inc. had gone defunct and were gone. This game is completely lost, and at the moment it's unknown if any assets from the game had survived and exist today. AIM Software Games. Similar to the Atari 2600, the Atari 8-bit library of computers had a whole bunch of video game companies creating games on them without any involvement from Atari themselves. Although, unlike the Atari 2600, the video game crash did not affect and influence the computers by much, as companies had kept on making games for them with no indication of bankruptcy for some. The computers would keep on getting manufactured all the way to 1992, and new games kept getting released on it around the world. One of these companies was known as AIM Software, who had published about 56 games besides 24 unconfirmed games. Only 24 of these games have been dumped online so far. Some of the games are only known to have been put on specifically a tape or disc instead of both. Samsung Doorways. At the 2018 IFA event, Samsung had gone on to release Doorways, which was a game and an AR experience in collaboration with the animated series Family Guy. In this game, players would scan themselves into a virtual rendition of the Griffin's house. They would walk throughout a room with yellow walls which simulate the layout of the Griffin's house, that's then shown on the phone screen. Players would navigate throughout the house to help a hungover Peter do a list of different tasks, which were set by different Family Guy characters. Due to the game being exclusive to the event, as well as the show's eventual buyout by Disney, and that the game needed, a physical structure to work, it's very unlikely this game will ever get a re-release in the future and remains a lost, unplayable game. Seal to Wales. So this was actually an Atari 2600 game that had been released in 1983 by a company which goes by Datatech Enterprises. The game was a pretty much identical clone and rip-off of a game which goes by Pango, that released a year before and was as well for the Atari. This mysterious game is only known to have been released in Europe, with no variants or pirated copies of this game known to actually exist. We only have photos of the box cover, the cartridge, and screenshots of the game. According to the site Atari Mania, Seal to Wales was apparently originally made by Home Vision and under the name Wales, but this is still yet to be confirmed. This is a really weird and mysterious game. It's really unknown and not talked about anywhere. Noah's Ark 1995 Japanese game. This is a lost 1995 Windows/Mac adventure game that's linked to the company NEC. It seems that the game is a misstyle point-and-click adventure. A sold listing with photographs of the game's box and disc was discovered on Yahoo Auctions Japan, with this pretty much confirming the game's existence. The game is out there. 2 archives of the game's website had been uncovered using the Wayback Machine. One is in English and the other being in Japanese. Each website had different info on the game, such as the Japanese version of the site revealing the artists and composers of the game, and the English version of the site suggesting that the game was at least partially in English. February 9th, 2021. A Lost Media wiki user who goes by Saint had posted 2 different scans from a 1995 issue of Game Blast magazine to the Lost Media wiki forums. The articles had revealed previously unknown and unseen screenshots of the game, as well as the original release date. The same Lost Media wiki user posted the game's trailer from the cover disc for a 1996 issue of the gaming magazine called Digital Boy. Super Mario World: Mario Attack. This is an arcade game from 1996 developed by Banpresto and was based on the 1990 Super Nintendo game Super Mario World. In this arcade game, the player would attempt to land Mario on items of different value in medals. This arcade was only released in Japan, and at the moment no ROM has surfaced or been dumped onto the internet. A Japanese YouTuber, however, happens to own one of the machines to this game, which is pretty cool. But I don't think they're gonna dump a ROM onto the internet anytime soon, so that's that. But yeah, maybe one day this game will be playable for everyone, but at the moment it remains a lost game. Dark Temptation Game Saga. On the Lost Media subreddit, a post was made by a user who goes by MyDeuce, who discussed a lost game made by Axe. So to sum it up, pretty much in Brazil, 2008, Axe had made their own character who went by Chocolate Man. This man was used to advertise their new products. A lot of you may be familiar with the Chocolate Man as well as his commercial. It is a pretty disturbing commercial. But anyways, in addition to this commercial, a game was made based on this strange character and was supposedly titled Dark Temptation Game Saga. It was possible to play this game through the Axe website. However, it would be later taken down, making the game lost and unplayable. It's possible to find the game page using the Wayback Machine, but it's completely impossible to actually play it as it needs both the Flash and the Unity web player to run it. It hasn't been preserved by initiatives such as Flashpoint and seems to be completely gone. This was a pretty obscure game. It looks quite obscure. The Little Cars in the Great Race. This is a PC racing game based on the Brazilian Cars rip-off movie, which is called The Little Cars in the Great Race. The game had been made by a Romanian company called Studio Sodovrom, and there are very few sources and sites which actually talk about and discuss this game. It seems that Video Brinquedo, which was the company that created the Little Cars film, was not involved or associated in the production of this game, as they have not referenced it or talked about it anywhere. Brinquedo's name or logo is as well not mentioned anywhere in the game, so that's that. There's only some screenshots of the game to exist, and as far as I know, there's only one video on YouTube which actually shows gameplay. Mario Demo Virtual Boy. At Shishinkai 1994, Nintendo demonstrated their then up-and-coming and new console, the Virtual Boy, by showing a brief demo featuring Mario, which was made to demonstrate its stereoscopic 3D effects. People would look into the Virtual Boy console and be greeted by a rendered image of Mario, which appeared under the Virtual Boy logo. The logo would then fly towards the viewers letter by letter, giving this really interesting effect, showing off its capabilities. So yeah, this tech demo is lost and hasn't seen the light of day since the event. Something I find a bit interesting and cool is that the demo was also apparently hard-coded onto the Virtual Boy prototypes, and wasn't played through a stereotypical cartridge like Virtual Boy games usually are. I wonder if Nintendo still has these prototype consoles stored away somewhere with this Mario demo contained inside. Pringles Never Shut. This was a, I would say, pretty obscure Flash game that was released in March 2005 that was made to advertise Pringles. It was created for Procter & Gamble UK in partnership with MKM Marketings and Promotions Limited, which is now defunct. In this game, you would type in messages and interact with a cashier who goes by Sanjeev at an all-night store. By effectively navigating conversation topics, the player would end up winning the game by obtaining all 5 cans of different Pringle flavors. This game is unfortunately lost and unplayable. Many have tried and come close to getting this game back, however there are just critical files that are missing which are needed for the game. I don't even think there is gameplay footage to exist. I tried searching around and only came across a few couple screenshots of the game, so yeah. I also came across these YouTube videos which feature Sanjeev and the Pringles Never Shut store, which is seen in the game. It seems to be some sketch interview of some sort, and I'm not sure if this was used in the game or not, but yeah. Super Soaker Championship. This was a German multiplayer arena shooter created for Windows XP and published in 2006 by a company which I'm not even going to try pronounce because I'll probably fumble it badly. In 2009, the game had been removed and deleted from the company's website, with a notice being added stating that a brand new game would be arriving soon to replace Super Soaker Championship. This new game went by Waterfight 2009. Screenshots of this new game was published, and after a closed beta which lasted from August 2009 to June 2010, the game was never mentioned again. Due to the official download page being inaccessible, and all the other download sources of Super Soaker Championship being dead, the game is pretty lost. There's only a couple videos of the game uploaded onto YouTube and some screenshots of the game which were dug up and found on a German website. Bollywood 2003. So this was a hack of a bootleg NES game titled Street Fighter 2, which was obviously meant to be Street Fighter 2, but I guess this was a misspelling of some sort, or maybe the developer didn't want to get in trouble, I don't know. This Bollywood 2003 hack replaces the Street Fighter characters with Bollywood stars. It as well alters the title screen. It really doesn't do that much to the game. The game has only been found in one of those bootleg 5-in-1 multicarts, with the owner of the cartridge uploading gameplay of the hack. I believe this gameplay video on YouTube is the only reason we actually know about this game's existence, I think. Searching up Bollywood 2003 NES or Bollywood 2003 game, only the Lost Media Archive shows up talking about the game as well as the gameplay video I just discussed before. The owner of the game states that the cartridge no longer works and is unable to dump it and make it playable for everyone, leaving the game lost and unplayable. If you have one of those bootleg cartridges at home laying around, you should check if it has Bollywood 2003 on it. Windows XP Famicom. A bootleg port of Microsoft Windows XP that was released for the Famicom. This port was most likely released in 2003 according to the fake BIOS screen seen in the available screenshots. The game tries to replicate the Windows XP operating system and could possibly be an updated newer version of the Windows 98 NES port, due to how similar the desktop and start menu layouts look. So at the moment, the Windows XP port is lost and undumped, and there are only just a few screenshots which actually exist. No footage or leaked gameplay has ever been seen or found anywhere. Habbo clones. Civi City, Yan City. I'm sure a good majority of you know what Habbo is. Habbo is an online pixel art style virtual community game thing targeted towards teenagers, I believe, where you can create your own character, chat, make friends, and play games, etc. But yeah, I guess this entry is just referring to the Habbo clones and ripoffs which are just lost entirely nowadays. The entry mentions Civi City, which is definitely a clone of Habbo, looking very similar gameplay wise and as well graphics wise. This was a very small game from 2017 and yeah, I guess it's lost now. Yan City, which is also mentioned in the entry, is the same type of thing. It's just a Habbo clone which looks very similar and is now lost. Rap Attack. A Super Nintendo game which had been listed on a Chips and Bits advertisement in the May 1992 GamePro issue. Apparently this game was a shooter, and that's all that's really known about the game. Very, very mysterious game. Considering the lack of information that actually is on the game, it's most likely that the game wasn't even officially licensed by Nintendo. Anti-Pokemon Trainer Click and Play. Click and Play was a game design software from the mid-1990s, and it appears that a few different users online have been searching for two specific games from Click and Play, known as Anti-Pokemon Trainer and Anti-Pokemon Trainer 2. These games were made around 2003 by a user who called himself Amazer, and they were apparently silly and immature games which weren't meant to be taken seriously. So according to some people online, in these games you were given missions by the South Park version of Jesus, and you had to take down characters from the Pokemon anime before they conquered the world. The gameplay mostly consisted of shooting characters that bounced around the screen. There was an outer space level with a simulated scrolling effect that was relatively impressive for the Click and Play engine, and the soundtrack featured corny MIDI renditions of late 1990s/early 2000s nu metal.